Well, where was I before I was so rudely interrupted? I swear, like, streaming, there's like always something that goes wrong. I'm trying to find the damn thing. Oh, there we go. Composite. It's probably fine. What a mess. Okay. I don't know. Do we want to try changing that to top bottom? I don't know. Where is it here? You. Change the orientation of this thing. Where is it? Left, right? You're left, right. You're fine that way. Actually, this one might be better top bottom too. Hang on a second. Let's take a look. Basically, I change these like every time the so they end up getting like wacky, and then I want to change them. Oh, good. Maga Exterminator. Magat Exterminator has followed me. Keep us safe there. Freaking. What do they call those? Like resist accounts that are just like engagement bot farm things. Okay. Excuse you, I just. Didn't I? Yes. Okay, is that better or worse? I think. Come on, buddy. Definitely. No, it's not as not good. Left, right, back to left, right you go. This guy, on the other hand, top, bottom, boop, boop. Oof. No, we definitely do not want that top bottom. Left, right. I guess it's like, cause Where's my brain? Like the top bottom orientation in GraphViz is well, I mean, isn't that like the standard? I can't remember what the default is, but it's just like if you've got text in the boxes, it's just going to be wider, and so there you go. This one doesn't look nearly as ridiculous, even though it's actually not that wide. If that's you, Lucas, you can ask your question again, because I kind of forget. I was going on a rant about Fielding's. It was not a rant per se, but it was remarks. It's like while I'm here, I'm just going to punctuate this thing a little bit, because it's a mess. Yeah, let's just shove a lot of these are really old too. Like I haven't, like what I need to do is, because I have like so many of these freaking ontologies, I got like a dozen of them. And the first ones I did were in 2009, I'm going to say, with RDFA 1.0, and which is markedly different from, oops. RDFA is, yeah, it's markedly different from RDFA. Not markedly different. It's some subtly different from RDFA 2.0, but you can still sort of see artifacts in it. Like there's like divs when you should have sections and stuff. Like there's just that kind of stuff, and it's oh right, this is like CH classes, so there's no like sec bundles. I think this is what I did so that they would not be ambiguous. Or yeah, so they would not be ambiguous. That's what I want. Set parameters. There's another section. Cues. Should really. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. I mean, YT, the YouTube and Twitch are going through a proxy, but no, my wireless access point crashed, which really sucked. But they are back. Your audio is out? I mean, the YouTube is back. It's just at a different address. I posted it on Blue Sky and Mastodon. Unfortunately, you can't resume a stream on YouTube once you've stopped it. Here. Okay, anyway. Did I call that already? Let's just do this. Do this and be going with it. It's a bunch of stuff. Oops. QU you use. Yeah. It's H2. Oh, just a second. CH. About down what? Oh no, yeah. So the ontologies are. I just use them. I just make them as HTML files. I use RDFA, and then I have a bunch of make files and crap that will turn it into like Turtle and RDFXML and whatever, and then those just get rsynced up to the server. They're just files. Constraints. I think I have one more chapter and then I'll just ship this thing. Hey. This should actually work now. Good. So, yeah, yay, okay. That's not where we wanted to go, but these is like, this is just like super ghetto. It's just like, I put the minimum amount of effort into generating these things, but what's really kind of fun though is that the ontologies are, yeah, they have the machine readable like spec like embedded in it, and I mean like I've thought about doing them like doing something that generates that, but I found that like there's like an extra sort of curatorial layer on top of like, oh, like we want to have sub things and we want to have subsections where we want to bundle a bunch of stuff, different terms together. Maybe that's what I was saying. Like I just like I find annoying about doing ontologies is like normally what you've got is like you've got classes, properties, data types, individuals, or something like that, and but it's like the classes and the properties and the data like they might like they kind of so it's like do you want to like bundle them in, you know, like thematically, like do you want to just have them as an alphabetized list? It's just kind of annoying. I find it just yeah, and I would also love to have something that generates these SVGs that are just it's just graph viz, but the it's just a bit of it's like one more damn thing. Got to have like real code. Not a lot of it, but more than zero. Anyway, Yeah, I'm surprised it made you like have to create a Twitch account to. I thought the whole Twitch stuff was just out there. But anyway, okay, so I have done. Where are we here? Classes, bundles, transforms, composite. So yeah, the job was to create this. Where'd you go, little bastard? Function of property. Transforms and parameters. Yes, okay. The job was to create this composite parameter. The composite parameter is a subclass of the parameter class. Oh, I know what we got to do now. Now we got to do this. Oh, but first I should probably. Chinese protege. Oh, maybe protege was the thing that was dumb. No, actually no. I use protege to look at ontologies more than I use it to make ontologies, because it's just like so usually what I do if I'm like I'll make a I'll just make an ontology in Turtle to rough it out, and then but honestly this again I'm just using Emacs. I'm just gonna do this. Come on. Oh, we forgot a term. Well, we got to go back to the drawing board. So tool chain. So I'm making. So yeah. Anyway, so I will ref an ontology out just like I'll write it out in Turtle. If I'm just gonna I'm just gonna rough it out. Then by the time I have like a few terms or whatever, like I have just like templates. I'll just like copy or clone like something from another thing. Like if I go, hang on a second. Let's find the hub to get. What transformation? I think that's what it is. Yep. And then if you look at the make file, let's just grab this, plop it in here. So let's just like mirror that to YouTube. So we'll just, and then I'll just load it up. Super simple. There's nothing to it. So the things that this will do is, so I will use wrapper. So RDF is the Ruby RDF command line thing that just ships with like the Ruby RDF stuff. I use that for, it's slower than wrapper. Wrapper is another serializer. And so, but wrapper doesn't, you can't, wrapper is like abandonware and it doesn't have HTTPS. And it's also abandonware, so it doesn't have like RDFA 1.1. So if you, but like, so I'll just go through these anyway. So generate the variant. So like basically what it'll do is it'll take the file, the HTML. So that's actually XHTML because I'm anal about that. Well, I have other reasons. Like I use XSLT for presentation markup still because it's allows me to be super lazy. So what this is doing here is this is serializing the RDFA into a turtle, and then it'll take the turtle and it'll turn it into RDF XML. I don't know why I don't use it twice, but wrapper is faster than the RDF command line from Ruby. So that's probably why. And then so what else am I doing? Rsyncing stuff, pandoc to make the README. This runs graphiz on the dot files. And then, yeah, so that's like, there's not a lot to it to make these things. It's all stuff that was lying around. What else? Yeah, so that's for making, and then so Intertwingler. Let me just actually fix this because the universe thing is the thing I forgot about. Transformation.xml. TTL, yeah, so RDFA to turtle, and then turtle to RDF XML with wrapper, but like you could skip the wrapper. It just wouldn't run as fast. You know what it might have been too also is that I preferred the way that wrapper serialized the RDF XML. And of course there's content negotiation on the server, so all of that, like if you hit the server with various accept headers, it will spit out the right format as one would expect. As also, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with HTTP range 14 and all the business around like hash versus slash URIs. When I'm doing ontologies, they're always fragment identifiers. It's always on one page. Like doing ontologies when you have when you've got like each term is its own like full URL is like can be clever, but I find it's too clever by half a lot of the time. It actually kind of messes with you, so I wouldn't do it. What noise was that? That wasn't even. It was just like a grunt. Okay. So where am I here? Oh yes, universe. So the universe. Yeah, you're the only call to that. So let's grab a universe. It's going to be an RDFS container, probably. So. Let's just copy you. No. Let's actually copy you. And I'll say what I'm doing in a second. So, object property, yes, is that what we want? It's an object property. Specifies yeah, no, we want that in a parameter. Yes, we do. And the range is an RDFS container. I'm assuming that's a container. Specifies the universal container object. I can probably, we'll leave it for like as a container for now. The container contains the universe of, e.g., a set. So if you have like an enumerated set, like a set that can only contain a certain set of things, because the thing is if you got like if you have like a parameter, and the parameter can only take certain values, that's the universe. All the values that the parameter can take. Contains the universe of a set. The universal set. Contains the universe of a parameter. Of values that a parameter can take. What did I just say? I guess it could be a domain, but we already used that word. I mean, like, because like a unit, yeah. I mean, see, this messes with me because, like, yeah, like domain and range are already used. I even have like a capital R range here for a class where the range is like a span. I could have called it a span. Like, that I can take. So let's just get that going here. Oh yeah, and we need to go and attack the freaking things again. Transformation function classes. Why does that never go to the right thing? Do we have that in here? No, we do have RDFS container. Oh, we do. Okay, so we will go and we will find container. What did I say? Universe. Parameter container universe. Container label equals TFO universe. I guess when I started to think about like a domain is almost like a quasi-continuous thing. Like if you think about like, but I guess it doesn't have to be. Like if you have like a set that's like got, you know, it's granules, it's got like chunks in it. Cause like, what's the ontology that has like coded properties in it? I think that is what's it called? It is cube. Coded, yes. So, I mean, it's a similar thing where you've just got like these points in a set, but like, I don't know. The ones that I did, so like, actually, I'm going to load Ruby.info gems params registry. So, eons ago, I don't know if this really says anything. That's that's not really anything. When did I make this any? 2017. That doesn't sound right. That sounds like, yeah, okay, so there was 2015? Okay, so there we go. 2015 was when I made this thing called Params Registry. And so first of all, I guess I got to talk about Intertwingler. Talk about Intertwingler, I got to talk about like the stuff that came before Intertwingler. And so one of the big concerns that I had when thinking about a web-based, like basically the problem with one of the problems with the web, like, is the URLs are super brittle. And if you mint a URL, like you just make a thing have a URL, and you put that out there, then you instantaneously lose control of it. So it's like, and you see this all the time, like people will rename a file on a server, and it's like, its URL is now busted. And if you want to fix that, you've got to like stick a redirect somewhere. So like something now has to have that state of like, okay, the redirect. So like, remembering like what stuff used to be called is a problem for the web, and like to the best of my knowledge, like nothing treats it rigorously. It's like, let's say you've got like an MVC, whatever, pick your MVC of choice, and it's like you've got the controller thing, and the controller thing is a class, and the class corresponds to a segment in a URL path, and then like the marketing guy comes along and he goes, we need that to say products, not product. And so you've got this problem where first of all, the people who care about that stuff, developers will care about it to the extent that like, oh God, we've got to go and they're the people who care about the actual text content, because like URL, you could have line noise be a valid URL path. The kind of stuff that is like legal, as a URL it would surprise you. All a URL has to be is unique. It doesn't have, there's no like any sort of structure or any sort of like intelligibility of a URL is complete like fiction. It's just like whatever you want it to be. But yeah, like, so the marketing guy is going to care that it's product, not products, or whatever. And so he'll come into the dev pit, and I'll be like, can you change this like one character? And the devs are like, ugh. Why? Because it's like not a technically challenging thing, and it's just going to disrupt a whole bunch of shit. It's going to break it. And then they got to add extra. If anybody cares, which the extent to which people care is questionable. But it's like, do they stick a redirect somewhere? And so anyway, I just like look at that and I'm like, like URLs should just not, like in general, URLs should just not be the business. Like software developers should not be in the URL making business. And that's going to be like sort of number one to problem as it pertains to the problem of just persisting URLs and making them be durable. So, so this would have been like 2008. I was really thinking about this stuff, and like there's all sorts of problems with URLs. Like the one, like you lose control over them. You don't like when the second somebody else copies it down, you're like, okay, well I guess there's now a link. People have expectations that this thing is going to be there. Like you think about like 404s and stuff like that. Well, 404 is like a computer going, ooh, when it, you know, like what, like you think about the way that you know, these things treat you. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, well, you know, this link, this link got out into the wild somehow, man. So, you know, so like there's that aspect of it. So you should be able to have, you know, you should be able to, you know, the other issue, for example, is just like renaming and moving stuff. Like, so the resource is still there, but the URL to it is broken. So that kind of thing, like, just, it really should just get taken care of. Anyway, so I was thinking about this, like, yeah, it was probably around 2008 when I was thinking about this. And so I, you know, started like working around on like, you know, how do you make it so that URLs are durable? And I mean, like my website, for example, which has been up since 2008, this particular incarnation of it, is, you know, every single URL that has been exposed on that website still works, with like exceptions, like a couple exceptions of a couple of things I've like expressly deleted, but I put a 410 there. Instead of, so you will not get a 404 unless that URL on my website has never existed in the first place, or at least unless something's busted, in which case like you might, but you shouldn't be able to. And the thing that sucks about that is when you go to make a URL, or you go to, you're going to like write something or put something up or something like that. You're sitting there and you're like, shit, like I got to call this something. And it's like, actually, it's not like just, you know, naming a file on my computer. It's like actually there's consequences, you know, to what this thing is going to be called. You know, people are going to be looking at it, and then I might want to change it later, and so on and so forth. So, back in, yeah, this would have been like 2008, maybe 2009 at the latest. I would be like, I would, you know, I would make a URL. I would make something I would just make the URL a UUID, and then I would rename it later. And I was just keeping that in, well, I was keeping that in Mercurial because Git was a steaming pile back then. Git didn't get better than Mercurial for a while. Anyway, yeah, so there's sort of early work in like URL durability, and like not only durability but also like just like separating the persistence problem from the what are we going to call it problem, and then you can kind of like come back and you know, and decide later. So it was sort of like a splitting that apart was a more of a paradigmatic thing. And I definitely find when working with RDF, I just use UUIDs at this point because they are like, it's such a pain in the ass otherwise yeah. So Intertwingler first, yeah. So it wasn't called Intertwingler initially. It was just called RDF SAC for Swiss Army knife, like, and I renamed it. It was Venkat Rao who made a joke, and I was like, I'm going to call it that. Except you call it Intertwingler Fire, but I decided that I wasn't going to go that far. So yeah, the first job of the code. So the code was like much later. Like the code that became Intertwingler is 2018. I believe is when I started writing it. I had done a bunch of other prototypes in like 2010, 11, 12, and 13. And this thing, which didn't look like this 11 years ago, but this thing is running on the original backend. Intertwingler is an application server, or at least it wants to become an application server. That before it was just a static site generator, but so back in, I started on this thing back in 2013, October 2013 to, so this is like got half the brain of like this other thing that I made, which I call the angry fruit salad, because it was, that's like a joke of syntax highlighters that are like not tuned. They look like an angry fruit salad. And that was the thing, is like every class and would get its like own spot on a hue rotation. So like it just looked like a freaking rainbow blast of like a something that came out of the 80s or something like that. Like a light bright. That's what it looked like, because it was dark. And dark with light text. And so anyway, so I made this thing, and it was like, that was kind of neat. Like it was like a RDF browser that would sort of automatically, I don't know where I mean, I could probably, I don't even know if I could spin it up nowadays. It's so old. But, so I made that, and then I was like, well, there's no way to write to it. And so, 2000, there's no way to write. So like in 2013, I came up with this thing I called RDFKV for key value. And the idea is that you would embed these sort of partial statements into like a regular HTML form, and then like it was like a protocol that would just like read that, and it would turn that into like a patch, like a graph, like a diff that would go into the graph. And so this thing on the screen was originally made to test that protocol. But that was from this ontology that I came up with, or I didn't come up with it, like I adapted it. So this is from IBIS, and IBIS is an issue-based information system. It's like, was invented by a guy in the 60s. Some like, they were like I'm not exactly sure, like design or management consultants or like I don't even know what they were. They were in like the architecture faculty. Oh, really? Okay, interesting. Yeah. So, Danny Ayers made one of these in, God, I don't know, 2004 or something like that. It was up for a while, and then I was like, like, I'm going to use that. And then I went to go look, and it was gone. It would just been nuked or something like that. The whole site had been nuked. I was like, screw it, I'm going to make one. So I did, and I did it based on the Conklin like IBIS paper. So what is that, like hypertext exploratory policy design? This guy. Don't make me log in. I hate reason. Oh God, screw off. Okay, there we go. Oh God, come on. You were just there. You saw it. Okay. This is the original first time anybody ever digitized IBIS. Looks like that. That was their thing on a, what's it called? On a sun boxes. So like the ones like the fridge size sun boxes that were, or like they were more like a Xerox Alto size. And anyway, so I read this paper and I was like, you know what would be like actually kind of makes sense is if we made this, like we sort of extended it, we made it into SCOS, like, or we made it a subclass of SCOS. Where is it? SCOS concept, yes. Oh, that's old. That should be clicky. Anyway, so I wrote this in, it says 2012. I don't think that's right. I think it's older than that, but not much, like maybe a year. But we can just say that it was 2012. And I So I came up with this protocol, which is like stupidly simple. Where are we here? Where's the BNF? There it is. So, the BNF isn't going to tell you much, but the idea is like you put, because like a form inputs, it can be arbitrary strings. They don't have to be like an opaque token or anything like that. You can put whatever you want in them. And so the idea is you basically put these partial commands in the HTML forms. And the commands are like add or remove statements. And I did that because I was like super lazy, and I didn't want to write a whole whack of JavaScript to get graph statements in and out of a web server. And so I made this thing 11 years ago to test it. That was the only thing. And I was like, I need a complete vocab to test this with, so I'll just use this one. And so that's kind of how this thing started. Now, this thing turned out to be like more useful than it really had any right to be. But like, if you look around to like IBIS tools, like if you go, there's like a bunch of them. I mean, this original thing. So like the guy who made this like went and like started a company around it, and so he went and he started a company around it, and he basically what you're seeing in 1987, 88 is like what he ended up making. It was like, on Windows or whatever. And the problem that I have with this and others, and if you go and you look around, there's other stuff online. There's like, who knows if they're still alive, but there's a whole schwack of these. Like there's about a dozen people who have gone and tried to make an IBIS tool. And my inclination was to like I thought that like the reason why they're not successful, it's like why aren't people using this? And I mean I think some things about that, but I think like one of the big ones is these systems are like hermetically sealed, like they are permeable. No, they're impermeable. What am I saying? And so like you think about like an argument, like one of the issues or one of the issues with issues is you're going to want to like attach evidence to them, and it's like, are you going to have to like upload the friggin' thing to your yet another cloud storage, like yet another document store, and so and then it's like a question of like, well, we have this particular IBIS implementation, you have that particular IBIS implementation. And so to me, it just made sense to start with a vocab so that you could interchange stuff for starters. And then second was put it on the web in such a way, and this is the reason why this is like every address, like every one of these elements is addressable. And it's always in the context of an element. You go over here, and it's like we've got. Actually, I am gonna friggin' pick that up. Where is that? I think it was Cognexus. Yeah. No. There. Like, these are not addressable. Like, so it made sense to me to make, exactly. There's a focal point, there's a central element, every single one of these. So, that was just a stylistic decision. An issue I mean, is a thing in the world that you want to do something about. A position is what you want to do about it. The argument is why or why not. And it seems to me make a heck of a lot of sense to have every single one of these be directly addressable so that you can cut it, paste it, stick it in a freaking email or whatever, stick it in a text message, a tweet, skeet, bo beat, whatever. And, you can always point to it. And then furthermore, like, and this is the thing that's like, that has been holding me back on this is like the other problem with those tools is they have a sort of big and then what problem. You go and you stick a bunch of stuff in one of these tools and then what? Like why couldn't you do more modeling? You're right here. You could just be typing them out. And so, yeah. And so the back end that this thing is on is just one of the, so it doesn't, you don't want to be limited to IBIS, like, because when you sort of think of the original way that they did it on like index cards, like they were doing it at 1960s, 1970s pace, and they like, it was like almost like a management consulty kind of a thing. It's kind of like when people come into your office with a bunch of Post-its and you stick them on the wall kind of a thing. Like that's the kind of exercise it would have been. And now it seems like it would make a heck of a lot of sense to me to like actually make this permeable, to like make this into a thing. And so like one of the first things I added was like a straight SCOS concepts, which I don't think are any on this one, but anyway. So so the back end on this doesn't have like, so this was written in Perl again, 2013. Pretty much no RDF frameworks except for the ones in Java and the one in Ruby. None of them have a reasoner. And it turns out having a reasoner is real important for making apps on top of RDF. Because this thing, like, it's only about 3,000 lines of code on the back end, if that. And I would say like maybe 2,000 lines of that is like hard-coded inferences. And so if you wanted to add another class of thing and properties and friggin' equivalents and inverses and all the kind of reasoning that you would expect out of OWL, it's like another 2,000 lines. And then you want another one, it's another 2,000. And it's like, then it's just hard-coded inferences. And it's like, why am I doing this? The computer should be doing this. And so, another of the main... so Protege is written in Java and it's like got a bunch of reasoners in it. And but like if you were going to just write RDF, if you're going to write like RDF apps, like something's got to run it, right? Like you got to have some kind of code running that. And yeah, so you're basically like, if you're going to do that, you would write that in like, you would use Jenna or something like that, or RDF4J or whatever they call it now. And then you could use one of those reasoners or you could use a different reasoner. But not having a reasoner sucks. Like it really sucks. And it's kind of, I can kind of understand why like people writing like open source frameworks in other languages have not implemented a reasoner. And I mean the Ruby reasoner is it's barely serviceable, like because it kind of lives outside. It's not you can do inferences with it, it's fine, it performs fine, but it's like the big drawback of it is that you can't updated on the fly, so you can just like add a vocab to it. Whereas Jenna, you can, and you know, or any of the other ones you can't, or any of the other Java ones, I should say, you should be able to. But the problem with like Java is then you're programming in Java, and I would prefer not to. I thought about actually I considered writing it in Clojure. What was going to become Intertwingler, I considered writing it in Clojure in 2017, and I didn't get too far because like there wasn't a Clojure wrapper around Jenna, so I would have had to write that first before I could start on anything. Yeah. Anyway, so like the Ruby or the Clojure. What am I saying? So I wrote Intertwingler in Ruby because it had a reasoner, and even though it's like, again, like it's not the best, it uses a bunch of RAM, doesn't, it's, you can't yeah, you can't like hot fix it, like you can't like hot update it, I should say, but you know, it's fine for now. This sort of eventually I'm thinking I'm gonna at least make like a Java /Clojure version, and I wouldn't mind like actually making like one in Rust later on. But that's like a way down the line kind of a thing. I'm kind of imagining. I mean, I started writing Ruby in 2018 because I had a client who had all their stuff in Rails, and I actually quite like Ruby. But I was considering writing Intertwingler in Python. I don't like Python, but a lot of people do. And so I was considering writing in Python. Python had a reasoner for their RDF lib. It's abandonware. It's broken. I tried to fix it. I can't fix it. It's above my pay grade. It's like, I don't understand that description logic stuff. But like, that's just the thing, is it like the description logic, like that kind of, it's just real hard. Like, what the hell is anything in here? And so it's, yeah, I did not survive trying to figure out that code because it was just too alien. And so, yeah, so I mean, anybody wants to try, it's called Fushi. You know, wants to try fixing the Python reasoner. You might, I don't know. It's goofed though, so and I don't think it's coming back. But is that Rust? Reasonable. So the only thing that I know that's written in Rust to actually like, oh, this is Python. Okay, that's interesting. The only remark that I would have about that is there are some reasoners that just do the inferencing, and then there's the other ones that will just like blast out the entire graph, which you don't want. That's interesting. I wonder if this goes on to, what's it called? Oxygraph. So that actually might be, that's like, thanks for telling me about that, because that's worth looking at, because I know a guy who would be very happy to find out that he could actually use a reasoner in Python RDF stuff. What was I going to say? Anyway, So back to the URL business. So the idea behind Intertwingler was like a bunch of stuff. It was like it's an application server. It's a microservice bus, and it is a effectively part of those things. The point of that thing is to make it so that it's easy to do what I call dense hypermedia. And the idea behind dense hypermedia is, it's something like this. It's large number of small objects that are interlinked to each other in ways that are all over the place. And so I want to be able to make it real easy to make stuff like this. And I find just like web apps, like if you're trying to like mess with MVC and like SQL and stuff like that, like it's just so clunky by comparison. Whereas what you do for this kind of stuff is you create resources. The resources behave like Lego, and you stick them together. You can even everything is kind of just like a bunch of microservices under the hood. And one of the biggest things was, just sort of like being able to create, like if you were gonna I want to create stuff and I want to link it together, and it's like, okay, well, I can do that. Like this interface is like stupid easy for that. Like, and it will just, you can, because if you want to populate an RDF graph, like holy cow, like what are you gonna do? You can sit down and type out turtle? Like, God no. Like there's, even though that's probably like the least much you can, and I have like make these like goofy little syntax auto completers or whatever for it. I did one for Emacs. I'm sure you could do one for VS Code or Vim if you whatever. But you type it out and then of course then you got to stop and you'd be like, what should I call this URL? And then, so you do that, you type out the freaking URL, and and then you're like, oh no, I want to go and rename that. So you're gonna rename, find and replace them. You're like, and then so you're like, okay, I don't want to have to think about the URL. So then you start using UIDs. Then try typing the UIDs. So I had to do make a little auto completer or whatever. But it's like, in something like this, you want to make a thing, you make a thing. It just works. So it's very, one of the sort of ideas behind this thing originally, I wanted to make it so that it was as easy to populate a graph as it was to tweet. That was the plan for this. And so Intertwingler is the reason why I was originally, no, they're not. They're not human compatible, but if you don't need to touch them directly, they're fine. And so that's the idea. Same with cryptographic hashes. As long as you don't have to touch them directly, who cares? There's another, there's an ontology in here that is, which one is it? Why are these not in order? Why is anything? Where actually? Why isn't the content inventory one in here? Huh. That's weird. Jesus Christ, the things that, I have a thing that does, generates that. I have no idea what its problem is, but is it in there? What happens? Is it? Huh. I guess not. Well, that's a to-do item. It's not gone. It's right here. It's just not in the index. Um, Content inventory one, I'm actually like really excited to deploy this one. This is the thing that's currently though. This is the thing that one of the things that it does is this is the mechanism for the. This is the mechanism for the URL mapping. And so, you know, you got your example.club/17 mind-blowing ways to write listicles. You've got the slug and the canonical slug or whatever. Those are basically all same as. And anyway, so under the hood, that's what Intertwingler is doing, is looking for this stuff. But the content inventory vocabulary, it is for content. Yeah, what is it for? It is. I mean, it's for content inventories, and it's got a bunch of. It's like a. At this point, it's actually probably the biggest one by far of like stuff. But yeah, it is a. It's a big boy. But yeah, it's for like basically for doing content inventories of websites, and then like doing the things for the URLs are in there too. So I'm just gonna finish this. I'm gonna finish this guy because I just grab that. Let's see if it is fixed or if I'm missing something. You're still in there. Did I make push? I did not make push. It will. Not you. So, yeah, I mean, like what I'm looking to use it like Intertwingler for is like basically just to be my substrate for everything. Like, and so this is so you know, going back to this gigantic to-do list of stuff. The blocker right now is this note right here about, oh, you didn't need to code that, implement that bit because nothing uses it yet. Well, it turns out that if I want to port this thing over to Intertwingler, then I do need it. So I wrote this note to myself saying, "Don't bother, we'll deal with it later." Well, now it's later, and so then I went and I typed out all this stuff, and so Intertwingler does almost all of its configuration on RDF. The configuration that is not in RDF in Intertwingler basically tells it to bootstrap and go looking for the RDF that actually does configure it. And so if I go to example transforms to, so this is the actual configuration of Intertwingler. And so the way Intertwingler works is that there's like this thing in the middle. Actually, I have a picture of it. Actually, I have a picture of it on GitHub. I don't know if it... Can I demonstrate? You know what? Intertwingler, I mean, there's a Docker image of it. I don't know how fresh it is. Right now, I would say, like, you could spin it up, but it wouldn't do much. Um, let's just do this. God damn it. God damn it. Shit. It is a, it is a, sorry. There we go. Jesus Christ, bot. Do this by myself. Okay, bye. Okay, Intertwingler, yeah, it is like still super rickety. Like it's not like it's not tight enough that you can just spin it up and run it. It's not like there's even anything to even do with it yet. Like it's gonna need a bunch of like it's still like where it's at is like effectively like I got it to work, you know, in air quotes, but like all of the packaging that would like make it like a tight little thing that you can spin up and run does not exist yet. Any sort of UI that's like, you know, sort of stock UI. There's a bunch of other stuff too that needs to get like implemented that is just not implemented. There's this thing I call the handler manifest protocol that enables the handlers to talk to each other. Right now that's just like duct tape that's not even real. And there's like other things too that I'm not like too sure about yet. Like, so I guess I'll just go back to this. I don't know why this font isn't right on that, but whatever. So this is the path of like a request that comes into Intertwingler and then goes back out again. And so there's in Intertwingler is the resolver. This like maps durable URLs, your durable identifiers, so UUIDs, hashes, other stuff if you're into it. Maps those to nice human, like round trips them to like human readable URLs, any kind of variants, whatever, anything that's an alias or anything that's a redirect or whatever. It sort of figures that out. That's what a resolver does. The request comes in through a request transforms, and those are no, the content is just a vocab. Oh, sorry. I see what you mean. No, those are just like the slug and the canonical stuff. Yeah, I mean, sure, but this is code. Like all it's doing is looking for that. And that way you just basically keep a list of everything ever was called. So this will give you a canonicalized address through the pre-processing stuff. Comes in, so the request comes in, it gets transformed potentially, depending on what it is, what's in it. It'll hit the request dispatcher, it'll be one of these things that then actually goes to storage or whatever, or it'll get generated, or it'll be proxied out to the network. And then those come back, and then you've got a response at this point. The response gets put through the queue, or a set of queues rather. So there's like a sequence of queues, like a queue of queues. And then there's finally this thing called an addressable queue, which is like a sort of a way to parameterize and make derivative addresses, so like scaled images and shit. and then and then it finally comes out in the response. And now the thing about this is that like everything in Intertwingler is a handler, and a handler is just a microservice. It's just a bundle of URLs that they respond. It's just it's some code that'll run. You can hit it. You can spin it up as its own thing. You can hit it with as long as you hit a URL that it has, with a request method that it likes, and respond. The headers that are that it will respond to, then it'll respond to it. So so one of the things is that a transform is a type of handler. So everything is a handler. Even the engine is a handler. So you could actually like recurse this thing if you wanted to, and everything is HTTP under the hood. And so that's how you get. So like if you want, the whole idea behind that is that these become extremely, extremely well-defined development targets. So it's like, oh, I have something that does a content addressable store, and this is something, this boring ass file system. This is a transitional thing, and you throw it away. We're just going to use GraphDB and content addressable store eventually. And then stuff for like generated stuff. So like responses that have been generated, whatever, they get generated out of the graph. And then the reverse proxy stuff I haven't done yet, because that's going to be how it does like async stuff and like scheduled things. Is going to be through like effectively like some kind of job queue, something or other. I don't know yet. That's not doesn't show up because it's not on this diagram. But anyway, what else is there? Anything else in here? I thought there was another graphic. And there's this. Oh, this is just the architecture. So it's got an intertwingler configuration vocabulary, and it's also got the transformation function ontology. So the transformation functions ontology, it actually has the queues in it. It's actually kind of a bit of a mess, but it's the thing that's got the queues. And yeah, sure. Ciao. Anyway, where was I? Oh, let's see. We got a nice bot in a bikini with big boobs, standing on the beach, has followed me. A little AI generated. Anyway, where the hell was I here? Oh yeah, I wanted to see if this was fixes this now. Is that the right one? The wrong one. Is this still in my paste buffer? No. Yes. Okay, so the term has been, it's in there now. Right. TFO respond to register. We need that. I actually gonna. Yeah, no problem. See you, Lucas. Okay. time is it? 19:05. I guess that makes sense. So, continuing. That's right now. And we didn't have a universe. Really annoys me that org mode has a different stuff than Markdown, and it's like I'm sure you can change it, but like, okay. Anyway, so that's that. TFO universe. The real irony of this is that this thing would be perfect for planning this work. But since it's such a goddamn annoying thing to work with, because I can't make it any better because of its back end sucks. I mean, I can, but I'm not gonna because it's a humongous waste of time. Yeah, so I'm stuck using org mode, which I would rather not use. Okay, so let's just look at the gitty gits. Yeah. Okay, looks good. Yeah, let's ship it. And you... Oh, you know what I forgot to do? How dare I? One of the things I was actually considering doing was putting the timestamp on the term. What am I going to call this? Should be stable for now. Push. Oh, you know what? We didn't do the... Or did we? No, we did. Transformation properties. We didn't do it this here. in this here thing. I don't know where to put this. What is in the universe again? RDFS container. I might want to. Okay. You make a proclamation like should be stable for now. I'm going to actually check first. Where are we here, my friends? This friend. So we're just looking for that underscore if it's Ryan. That'll tell us if it's Jose. Oh yeah. Guys. TFO universe. That's weird. How do you guys continue? Okay, there we go. Yep. Looks good. Let's ship it. Should be stable for now. Oh God, are you kidding me? Le gîte. Gîte hub. Oh my God. I don't think we need to do this. Oh my God. It is 7:14 though, so I think I'm gonna like go eat a food because this is a good place to stop for now. But the next thing to do is to fix this little bastard. And so no, so like one of the things this thing does is it'll read. So when you go, no, we don't want that. So if you actually go and you look at like a parameter, so this is the thing, is that in keeping with the URL business of durable URLs, well, URLs also have query parameters. They got query strings on them, and the keys and the values. So like the goal is to be able to round trip a URL into a durable identifier and then back again, so that they are return exactly the same string. And the reason why you want them to be exact is because you can't guarantee that the system like is going to go and do surgery to the URL to figure out that it's going to be the same one. And so what we want to do is we want to like lower the footprint of like URLs that we expose that actually map to something. And so part of that is hygiene around parameters. And so the way that I solved this was like, apparently a decade ago, I created this thing called params registry in Perl. I made another one in Ruby a couple of years ago. I don't remember when I made it, but it doesn't matter. Obviously, I needed Ruby for this. So it doesn't care about RDF or Intertwingler or anything like that. The whole idea behind it, parameter registry, is exactly what it sounds like. Your website or your organization has a bunch of parameters. The names, it's controlled vocabulary, so what the parameters names are, what their sort of identifiers, their slugs, any aliases for them, the ranges, what goes into them, and so on. And so like what I needed was a way to define these composite parameters, which I did not have. And so now I do. And so I can, and because I was, what I need is I need to make these, what are called catalog resources, what I called catalog resources. So if you go to this guy, and you can, I'm just going to duplicate the tab. Well, anyway, so if I go to like meta, this is just a static file. Does it actually have anything on it? Yeah, it does. Resources, I think it's called. Oh, duh. Yeah. Oh, it's weird. Oh, here, I'll just take this off for now. Oh, it doesn't need that. Well, then I'll just put it back on. Who knows what the problem is with that? I spent a ton of. It's probably just not showing correctly because it's not showing correctly. Anyway, a catalog resource is just a catalog of everything on the thing. And it's like I had them by class and by property until I was like, okay, well, I want to make these consistent. And I needed query parameters. I needed query parameters. I needed query parameters that were composite. Didn't have that because I hadn't written it. And then I had to go and do that. And then I got to go and configure it somehow. So I had to go and write the vocab to configure it. Now I'm at the part where I write the code. Because I have the vocab, and I have the, yeah, I'm all good to go. So that's what I'm gonna do now, but I need to eat because it is 7:20 p.m. and I am hungry. And I've been working on this for a surprisingly long amount of time. Anyway.